In this RH Jam, we'll discuss isolation, the isolation and separation many of us are feeling, the ways the sense of separation and isolation it may be affecting us, and how Reconnective Healing helps us experience connection beyond any expectation. And with us today, Dr. Eric Pearl will join us to share his thoughts and guide us through an interactive moment with the Reconnective Healing frequencies. And we'll also share with you an exclusive clip from our upcoming program with Jillian Fleer on the power of your instinct. All of this coming up in the RH Jam. Well, hello everybody again. I am Ana Clavell, and if this is your first time here at the RH Jam, this is a weekly program that we discuss anything and everything that has to do with reconnective healing. And one of the things that we really love to do here is that we love to listen to your comments, your suggestions, your questions, because those are the topics we cover here on a weekly basis. So keep those coming, and don't forget, we really are counting on you guys to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it. Share our videos, because the more we share our videos, the more we make it easier for the world to understand about reconnective healing. And guess what, guys? It also makes it easier for us to discuss it with other people. Because like I like to say, you may be in the supermarket line and somebody says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And you turn and say, "Wait, I'm a reconnective healing facilitator." And the person may look at you and say, "I saw a video about that on YouTube." Isn't that amazing? What do you guys think about that? Let's welcome everybody today. Hello, Enrico. Hello, Thea. Abdullah. Hello, Soren. Hello, Maria Luisa. Hey, Miss Helen Fang. How are you, Miss Alumni? Hello, and a special hello to Viola from Serbia. She contacted me earlier and she said she never misses a show. So I know she's here somewhere. All right, guys, let's jump in and let's start talking a little bit about the topic. Because I know you're here for Eric. So let's start with that right now. So when we're talking about isolation, yes, right now, globally, we are all feeling it. We are seeing it. We are reading it in the media. It is happening. It is happening. It is a physical type of isolation that is being imposed sometimes by government, sometimes by our sense of civil duty. And here's the deal, guys. The sense of isolation that is now has become so tangible and immediate has actually been with us and perhaps in the back burner for a little while, which is, this is the revolution of the digital communications era. And we have become so accustomed to being in our own little world, our own little cocoon, tied and tethered to a little device, it is inescapable. It is in itself a type of separation and isolation that many have already noticed that led to people not feeling fully connected with anyone or anything, perhaps not even with themselves, because they end up measuring their own lives by whatever they've been seeing in the media, particularly in the social media feeds. There was a very interesting article about a young woman who decided to turn herself into a model for a month on Instagram, and she felt that instead of increasing her self-esteem, it totally destroyed it. We somehow have put ourselves out there in a way in which we have created perhaps for each other a greater divide about where we are and how truly we need to connect with one another. The other thing that we're experiencing is that we have a very real need now for social distancing. But this social distancing is not without a few pitfalls of its own, because that is not quite the same as social alienation, which is another thing that it's starting to permeate a lot of what we're seeing in the media, in people's comments. There is already a distancing that is happening between the people who we feel could be affecting us adversely now, because it has become a global crisis. It is something that clearly we all need to pay attention to. This is not something to be ignored or be trifled with. And it's not something either, though, to then condemn specific groups of people as being causative to what the effects of this crisis is bringing into our lives, whether on the immediate, to so many of us that I know in a Reconnective Healing family are at home and have not been able to leave your houses now in 2 weeks. And to the people who that is coming our way, perhaps, okay? So there is that sense as well that one thing really does not need to be hand in hand with the other, because truly, where is our sense of empathy? Is our compassion being affected as well? Where is our sense of connectedness when we see a child like this one? When we find that somebody is in pain, we immediately want to go to their aid. But we're discovering in this age, in this moment, right here, right now, that many are turning their backs to perhaps the segments in our societies that are truly the ones who stand to lose the most. But let me tell you, when they lose, we all lose, because we are truly connected, no matter what it looks like, no matter what happens. And what a moment right now in which Reconnective Healing can be truly that platform that allows us to see this as the reality of our existence, of who we really are as human beings. But Eric is going to tackle that, and he's going to discuss even more in depth quite a few bits of his own discoveries and findings when it comes to separation and isolation and what Reconnective Healing brings into our lives. First, I want to share with you a quick video from our new program, The Power of Your Instinct. And Jillian is starring with a beautiful, oh my gosh, I heard her story and my eyes had water, as she loves to call it. Water started coming down. It was so powerful. So let me share this quick video with you, and then let's chat a little, okay? Here we go.
Hey everyone. So we have been having so much fun exploring the whole topic of instinct. And I'm going to even suggest, for me, it's been like exploring the other self. And let me explain that in the deepest way, and kind of exciting, almost like teleporting might be exciting. This idea of instinct, perhaps being created in our most original self as instinct, has been coming up and coming through in a incredible way, almost like non-locality, just this insane opportunity to see ourselves as our most coherent, most fully accessible to every possibility self, with instinct at the very root of it all. So I'm going to give you an example. Recently, in my kind of daily morning bike ride activity, I have been passing by on my route this really incredible soul, a being.
All right, guys, now you have the time and date, and I will be putting that link below so you can go and catch it, because it's really something else. Cecilia Sams, who's in the room as well. Hello, Cecilia, and hello, Lexi Alexandra. I see you there. Cecilia had a beautiful one that she posted yesterday, and I also encourage you to watch that one. It just allows us to understand what our relationship with our instinct may sound like. And it's so important that we listen to what other people's instinct stories are. In listening, we may recognize our own speaking to us. So hello, chat members. Hello, everybody. Please remember that you can place your questions here for Eric, and he will be super happy to answer each one and every one of them. And Katharina, welcome. And I see we also have in the house Dagmar. Hello, everybody, and Jennifer as well. All right. So without further ado, let's bring on Dr. Eric Pearl. Hang on, let's do in. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Super well over here. Very happy to have you here on the program today, Eric. It's been a while. We haven't seen you since October.
Uh, well, it kind of feels like October. It's a bit of a cold day, but I guess it feels like February or March also. Where I grew up, they used to say March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb, but it never really left like a lamb. It took a couple more months. It was a slow moving lamb.
Oh, Eric, one of the reasons that I'm particularly so happy and grateful that you're in this program today is that this question came from many of our viewers last week regarding the situation that we're encountering on a global scale. And one of the things that you are, one of the first things you let us and help us understand about reconnective healing is that separation in itself is an illusion. But right now, there seems to be this increasing sense of isolation, and it's happening to people around the world as this present global health situation is taking over and fear is starting to take root in people's hearts. Could you share your thoughts on this?
Well, it's very interesting because, again, there's an inner and an outer atmosphere that we exist in and we share. The inner and the outer communicates, and our inner and outer communicates with other people's inner and outer. And we're having an interesting time with people attempting to make the outer seem to be a forced reality. I know that some people are being forced into home quarantine. I read something yesterday where there were two sisters. One of them was diagnosed with a coronavirus, and the father was threatened with arrest because he took the other girl out to be able to attend her prom. He wasn't diagnosed. So there's a lot of separation that's going on that's forced, and then that creates a feeling of separation on the inside as well, almost as if we're forming two classes of people, those who are connected and those who are not. And there really are not two classes. It's really an illusion. I know that a lot of this was started by some of the governments. The government in Italy started forcing meetings and gatherings to close and be postponed for a while. Yesterday, Trump here started a ban. He's saying a 30-day ban on travel incoming, and some of the headlines are saying incoming and outgoing to and from the U.S. So it's a little hard to understand, with the exclusion of the UK, because the UK apparently has some stringent guidelines. There's a lot to tell us that we are separate. What we know through Reconnective Healing is that we are all one. We have understood this for a very long time, and now, in a sense, our understanding is being a little bit tested. The connection of the reconnective healing frequencies is everywhere. It's in one proton, as Nassim Haramein would say, of one molecule in our body, and then suddenly it's in every molecule and it's throughout the universe. So our consciousness is important. As Lynn McTaggart says, the reconnective healing frequencies are highly contagious, which she means in a good way, even though that word is kind of frightening at times. It has nothing to do with our thinking. It has nothing to do with our belief. And reconnective healing, because we are all one, can be shared via distance, or can it? And why do I say or can it? Because what we've referred to as reconnective healing distance sessions really disappears distance itself. So is no distance in them. I just did 2 beautiful Reconnective Healing distance sessions this morning. Jillian's been doing some, and they've just been exquisite, and they've been showing us, if nothing else, that we are all right here in the same space as one another.
So, it's we know this. I think that as all of us here who are in this chat room, I can see most of us here have trained, have studied Reconnective Healing, at least have read the book. For those of us who may have been joining the RH Jam, but they're still perhaps have not taken any of our programs, let me ask you this. What are the reasons that perhaps the perception that separation persists? Why do we always fall back into that perception? What may be the reasons?
Well, fear is the reason, and now why? Because fear is what allows our brains to come up with every possible worst case scenario. And when we see a possibility, fear turns it into a high likelihood or a probability. I mean, there's a possibility that a meteorite might land on your head when you're walking to the mailbox. But in actuality, it's a very low probability. The media today, we realize, is they make their money by their audience. Their audience is built on hype and fear. What we know, for example, is, I remember I used to say, well, why don't they put stories about, dogs who were saved and children who were helping others in the newspaper? And they would say, way back, no one would buy them then. And the papers would lose money. No one would watch the news stations. So we are enticed and almost addicted to watching the potential horrors that feed us in the fear of the lower likelihood. I remember around 2003 when the SARS epidemic, which is somewhat related to this, it was called bird flu, and SARS is somewhat related to this coronavirus thing. It was very frightening. And I remember leaving, I believe, Canada, where there was a great deal of fear of this, and showing up in Melbourne, Australia, and people were wearing masks. And it had also started in, I believe, China or some of the Asian countries, and people would come over wearing masks, and everyone was in fear to leave their hotel rooms or anywhere else. But somehow or other, we knew to continue on, to continue doing what we were doing. We knew that Reconnective Healing is a shift in the DNA, therefore it's also simultaneously a shift in awareness and consciousness, therefore it's a shift of who we are, of the internal environment, and therefore how we express or interact or deal with the external. And this is what would bring about a change. And really, they say that, I believe, far more people died from SARS, but it was easily contained in a very quick period of time back then. But when you're in the moment of it, you don't know anything but the fear. When I walked into the supermarket yesterday, I looked down the aisle where they had Kleenex and toilet paper and paper towels, and they were wiped out. They were just completely empty. It was a very strange thing to look at. They weren't empty because we needed them. They were empty because people were shopping based on the what if fears, which therefore brought about interesting shortages. It's a thought process. It's the awareness, the internal, the external. But we carried on back in 2003 with an amazing Reconnective Healing training program in Melbourne, Australia. Things began to heal, clear up. People with Reconnective Healing are, of course, very resilient and resistant to this type of situation because our immune systems rise. So for ourselves, for others that we work with, Reconnective Healing is highly empowering. As a matter of fact, we are going full force forward with a Reconnective Healing Catalyst training program again in Melbourne this September. I think it's September, the weekend of September 11, 12, 13. And we are carrying forward with that because it's our responsibility to share this healing, whether we want to share the healing just with ourselves, whether we want to facilitate for others in person, whether we want to facilitate distance healings for others, however the frequencies become shared. What I really love is that people are going now to the online program, what we call the portal, because they're finding that this is empowering them in accessing these reconnective healing frequencies. We call it the portal. It's the online reconnective healing initial program. It's the first part of the ONE experience that we take before the catalyst. And it's allowing us to access these reconnective healing frequencies to a far greater capacity for ourselves, for our household members, and even in the beginning, before we even learn fully the catalyst, we're at least at the beginning levels of being able to share this greater vibration, this health exuding energy, light, and information that science calls the reconnective healing frequencies, just with the people that we even bring into our minds without even having to leave our front door.
One of the things that came up as you were talking about the fear and knowing that we, the knowingness that comes via reconnective healing. And again, thank you for mentioning the portal. And I want to remind everybody that there is a link below. So you may have done it, but you may know somebody who would really benefit from it. And I want to also encourage you to watch a special video that our very own Enrico Righetti has prepared for us from his quarantine in Italy. That's what he's doing. He is doing the portal. And isn't that an invitation for all of us? So, Eric, I have a comment here from Katharina, who was listening to what you were saying, and she says, "It is difficult for me to consolidate the knowingness that all is well and connected and whole with the linear reality of the spreading of the virus being slowed down by the government measures."
There are always different aspects of what's going on around us that we are here to contend with and to bring into balance and harmony. It does require a little bit of an awareness around things, but you see, our awareness affects what you're calling the linear awareness. Let's not confuse linear with reality and everything else as just a lovely pipe dream. As we express and share ourselves in these frequencies, see this manifested in what we consider the linear, because we are the change. The energy, light, and information of reconnective healing has never wavered from what it is. The only thing that has wavered sometimes is where we place our attention. And of course, the level of doubt that comes up and down. How can I say this? What I wanted to say is the government's job is to raise doubts under the illusion of protection. But of course, protection comes from fear. I mean, if there were nothing to be afraid of, there'd be nothing to protect ourselves from. Now, let's not place judgment on this as saying it's a bad thing. I think we're in a perfectly orchestrated earth learning situation where everyone has been given their roles, the good, the bad, the ugly, the nasty, the not so nasty, those who come disguised as doing wonderful things and do some wonderful things, and those who maybe keep us in fear because it serves them financially and otherwise. But from all of this, we learn, we experience more and more deeply, we grasp to reach inside our awareness, to feel these frequencies. There's no greater high for me. And I know Jillian was talking about this morning, when even when there were stress around certain things that we had to get done, when Jillian facilitated one of her Reconnective Healing distance sessions for someone, everything fell into love and the expression of the essence of who we are, energy, light, and information. And remember, Reconnective Healing is perfectly designed for what's happening right now. It's I don't know whether I want to say it's as if or it just is, because there's a knowingness in the presentation of the timing of the appearance of the Reconnective Healing frequencies to allow us to learn how to do this work, because I believe we have a responsibility and a role to continue to share Reconnective Healing at a greater level, and to give us this time to talk about it, to become familiar about it, to share and understand the awareness, the philosophy, because Reconnective Healing has always been a hands-off, non-touch work. It truly accelerates it. I remember when I was doing Reconnective Healing in the beginning, before it even had a name, before I'd even taught anyone, and I'd start to facilitate the sessions, and in my mind, I thought, maybe I should touch the person, rest my hands on them, because that's what you see in the movies and in cartoons and pictures and books of healers. They're always touching the person, and their eyes are either closed or simultaneously appearing to gaze upward toward the heavens into the longing expression on their face, and they all kind of look like this. And I'm thinking, why do they have those silly looks on their face, and why are they touching? But I tried it. And as soon as my hands rested on my patient the very first time, I heard a voice. It wasn't someone else's voice. It wasn't external. It was within me. I recognized it as my voice, but it was my voice saying something that my mind wasn't saying to me. And it said, off the body. Get your hands back off the body. And same thing when I closed my eyes. Eyes open. Leave your eyes open. And I tried this several times because I kept thinking, well, all these books and movies and drawings, everyone must know what they're doing, but this was not for this work. This was very interesting about Reconnective Healing, because a lot of times people would come in who had done other forms of healing, or who had guides and other intelligences talking to them about healing, and they would give them advice about Reconnective Healing, and it simply wouldn't apply. It was as if all the guides and the guidance that we had and the work that we'd learned before had been perfect for what that was, but Reconnective Healing being new here at that time on the planet, they didn't really know how to read it. And so this is a design for now. And I, for one, plan to actually go back through the portal myself, because the experience of listening to it, watching it, feeling and sharing it raises my vibration in a way that I just feel phenomenal.
I find myself doing that too. Anytime, every week, as a matter of fact, and more recently, almost on a daily basis. Of course, yes, it's because I'm also looking for little clips that we can use here and there. But I find myself rewatching these episodes, Eric, and goodness knows I should know them by heart, right? I edited them. Still, every single time, there's something new. There's something different. There's a new level of knowingness and understanding that comes through from just watching something that I thought I knew I understood. It comes now in a different way. My take on this, guys, and I invite you here in the chat, for those of you who have done the portal, is that as we continue to evolve in these frequencies, whenever we revisit the portal, it's we're looking at every single time with new eyes, with a new level of listening. I have a couple of questions here. I have one from Rigo who says, Eric, how can we support people to do remote sessions when there is fear of everything around them? It may be, how can we encourage people to do distance sessions?
That's a great question, Rigo. Right before we respond to this, I want to share something with you because, it's funny. I would joke with people and I'd say, they'd say, oh, I just heard about the Reconnection. I haven't read it yet when talking about the book. And I would say I hadn't either. And they thought I was joking. And that's because once I finally wrote it and I read it over and over and over again, I sent it off to the publisher, I hadn't read it again. I would, once in a while, a couple times a year, open the book to something, read a few sentences, and I go, wow, that's really good. I can't believe I wrote that. I'd close it and I'd put it back. And to be transparent with everyone when I'm talking about going through the portal, yeah, I've seen segments of it here or there. And yet, when I listen to Jillian or when I listen to me, it's sort of like I'm hearing it for the first time. I'm picking up other things. And I have not, just as I've never read through the Reconnection again, just as I don't look at the videos on YouTube or anything else, once I've done them, I'm thinking next, I'm moving on. I haven't gone through the portal from top to bottom fully. And I'm really excited to do that now. So that's part of what I was sharing with you. So how can we inspire people to facilitate distance healings? Well, guess what? Inspiration begins with the first syllable of the word. In. The inspiration needs to come from within. So let me share with you mine. My inspiration came from me, from the 6 phrases. Interestingly enough, it was one of the first dramatic forms of evidence I had that I could carry with me of this existence being beyond these 4 dimensions. And I found that whenever I wavered or questioned myself in the beginning, I said, what's going on? I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and instead I'm waving my hands in the air. I would think back on these 6 phrases, and I would repeat one to myself. It would become the phrase of the moment, or of the day, or of the week, almost as if it was some form of a mantra. And the very first one was, we're here to tell you to continue doing what you are doing. Now, this clearly means to me someone from some other dimension, some scalar level of existence who is able to see, to observe what we are doing here on Earth, has found it important enough to make this communication, and the first one is to continue. And I think that's very vital to me. So whenever I wavered, as soon as I heard continue, the wavering disappeared. The next thing was, what you're doing is bringing light and information onto the planet. I see that in such a big picture. Each and every one of us, when we access these reconnective healing frequencies, we are bringing new aspects of light, new aspects of information onto the planet, expanding the energy field and expanding what we had known as the field itself. And therefore, even when we sit in self-healing, if we truly observe what's going on, we find there is no such thing as self-healing by itself. Because as we receive in self-healing, we change. We change the field, and therefore more and more people, whether they're aware, not aware, believing in it, not believing in it, whether we're thinking of them, whether we're thinking or not thinking of them, it expands and it raises the vibration of everyone on the planet. I believe, call this foolish, that it will even raise the vibratory levels of the thinking of those people in high-powered positions such as upper-level government. And it will, at least at an earlier level, change the awareness and have some of us, hopefully a lot of us in the United States, rethink our awareness when it comes to voting time. But it also simply raises the level of vibration with which we deal with things. Now, what do I mean? There are always stressors. The fact is, if you walk under a tall building and someone ordered a baby grand piano and it's being hoisted up on ropes and the ropes snap and the piano lands on your head, you might be in trouble. I mean, we have stressors. If you walk around with your mouth attached to the exhaust pipe of a public city bus, you're going to breathe in chemical stressors. Reconnective healing is not maybe of itself going to protect you from that falling piano or super intensive chemical stressors, although it might coordinate something where you think twice about breathing in from that exhaust pipe, and it might coordinate something naturally in your state where you are not walking under that piano, and it definitely will help us heal from and evolve into. So now there's a stressor in the environment. How about optimizing the way our bodies deal with it and allowing ourselves to let it float through? It's in the air. It's airborne, which is not an expression I really like to use because airborne is usually used to indicate a disease, just like contagious is. But, you know, as Lynn McTaggart says, the reconnective healing frequencies are contagious. They're shared, and they too are airborne. So it allows us to evolve into a greater healing level. If, and I'm just saying, well, let's say for me, when I see this greater picture, when I see that some large intelligence reach through the dimensions to say to me, which they're saying to you too, Rigo, continue doing what you're doing. You're bringing light and energy onto the planet. You're reconnecting strands of our connectivity to everything and of our DNA. You're reconnecting strings. In that is an inspiration for me. Is it an inspiration for you? We must know. What was the fifth phrase? You must see, or you must know that you are a master. Masters exist in their mastery. We don't hide mastery. We share mastery. Rigo, let's all share this and realize that there is a responsibility that comes with this gift of access. It's a responsibility to A, become connected with it. B, to allow ourselves and therefore others full access. What does this connection grant us? It grants us access to receive and realizing that we are changing the world. And part of the excitement is to look around and observe the change of how rapidly and beautifully this comes about for all of us. So I don't know how to inspire you except to share my own inspiration. But inspiration also means to inspire air, to breathe in, to receive a part of the atmosphere. So, Ana, if it's all right with you, how about, before we touch another question, why don't we just share the inspiration of receiving these frequencies with us and everyone who's participating in the program for maybe 2 minutes? Is that all right?
I love it. Absolutely. Take it away, Eric.
Cool. I don't know that there's that much to talk anyone through. I will share with you what I do. I like to feel the frequencies. Do I use my hands? Sometimes as a reminder. Do I let them go? Sometimes. You know what I really like, what I find empowering? I like to have the tiniest little subtle movements. And bring my awareness into my head, where sometimes I'll feel a vibration in my skull, a change in pressure in my ear, an opening of a tone, and I see, how can a gentle movement of my right or left hand actually bring about a movement or a change in character of a sensation going on within my body? So let's take about 90 seconds or so and just play in silence. and receive inside of you. And receive the awareness inside of you as well. Let go of sending. Realize that by receiving is the highest way to transform ourselves and the field, knowing that everyone else is in the field receiving. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Guess what? It's 12:12:12. I just looked at my computer clock.
That was beautiful, Eric. Super profound. I am still in and out in that beautiful atmosphere. Thank you so much. I got a shout out here for Miss Jillian Fleer, who is in the audience, and she made the most pointed comment. She says the reconnective healing frequencies are far more contagious than the pathogen that has created this global crisis.
And that's an important key to understand, because right now it's so important that we learn how to take better care of ourselves and we learn how to take better care of others, and that includes our consciousness. Most of us don't think twice about pasteurized milk. For those of us who are not vegan and who have cheese or other forms of dairy in our diets, yes, you can go to special places and get high quality raw dairy. But generally speaking, most of the dairy is pasteurized, and it's called pasteurized. It's named that after Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur's process of pasteurization came in a way to kill the bacteria so that people wouldn't get sick from dairy that was left out or not properly refrigerated or taken care of. That was his theory. On his deathbed, he confided that the theory was wrong. Ready? Although milk is still pasteurized, here's what he confided. He said, it is not the germs that cause illness or disease. It is, his phraseology was, the fertility of the soil, means how fertile we were for those pathogens, that disease, to grow within us. For example, you take a class of 30 school children to visit a hospital. 2 of them might get sick. Why didn't the other 28 get sick afterwards? They were all exposed to the same environment. But you see, it was their susceptibility. This is the basis of reconnective healing, just as it's the basis of the original philosophic chiropractic. It's to simply raise the level of our bodies being able to accommodate, take care of itself, reorganize, regenerate, and deal with what the earth throws at us, and more so what some man-made things are thrown at us. And so in reconnective healing, it's not the germs, it's our individual level of susceptibility to it. If it were the virus, then everyone exposed to it would have it. With reconnective healing, we raise the level of energy, light, information, harmony, coherence, balance within our systems, and we learn how to optimally deal with whatever challenges come our way physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and even on our life course.
That was absolutely on point there, Eric. It's so an important note for all of us to realize that That is the part. That is the part that we play as Reconnective Healing practitioners, as Reconnective Healing family, even if we're not facilitating professionally. We are part of this by watching the portal, by engaging with the videos that we are posting. We actually help increase this vibration ourselves. We emit this brighter light that we already are. Eric, is there any final exhortation you have for us, or any final recommendation they want to share with us?
Couple of things. Living congruently is really one of the greatest things you can do for your immune system. I read something from John DeMartini, came in the other day, my email, and it said, and I'm reading down to read this, it said, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all the opinions on the outside, that is when you begin to master your life. So it's time for us to learn to act, to choose to act instead of to react. And look for the blessing in any situation, and look for the blessings that we can share with others. For those of you who are Reconnective Healing foundational practitioners, please let your people know. Contact them. Say, hey, I'm available. I'm available for distance sessions. I'm available for in-person sessions. However you want to do this. Jillian doesn't know this, but she does now because she's listening. But I just am sending the office in a month in advance of open dates for our distance Reconnective Healing sessions for people coming to us, so that we can be here and available to assist those people who would like it, whether they want it because they're not feeling well, or whether they'd like it prophylactically to allow themselves to remain in the highest state. And all of you who are familiar with Reconnective Healing, who have learned this, who are foundational practitioners, you can do the same. Let your community know that you are there. There's a reason you learned it. You didn't learn it to keep it a secret, and it doesn't want to stay a secret. It's not a secret in what emanates from your eyes and from your DNA and in your essence. Let's not keep it a secret any other way. Right now, people are going to be in very high appreciation that you exist with this. So inspiration, again, comes from the in. Breathe in. Be inspired.
That is precioso. Mi gente, be inspired, and let's be that inspiration. Eric, as always, you are an inspiration to all of us, and I hope I can entice you to come back to the program, maybe in less time than 6 months. I know you're super busy, guys. Well, they're writing and they're doing a lot of new programs that I'm sure we're going to be hearing about very soon. So maybe in a couple of months. How do you feel about that?
I'll tell you what, you send me an invitation and I will RSVP.
I love it. Thank you so much, Eric, and everybody on behalf of the entire chat room that is on fire. By the way, guys, your comments are awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, let's say goodbye to Eric. But there's more to come. We have an exclusive clip from the portal with Eric, so don't go anywhere. So, as you know, the core of what we've been talking today is isolation and separation. And I really want to welcome all the amazing comments that have been coming through right here in the chat room. You guys have been awesome. Soren, that is a great idea. But like Eric says, maybe it's not about letting other people be in reaction. How about taking action of your own idea? I think that is an excellent way to start perhaps a project with the entire RH alumni community. I encourage you to post it and let's see what comes from it. Our place, our beautiful role right now is to inspire, to ignite others, to know that here we are and we are prepared. And yes, we are contagious in the most beautiful of ways. So I don't want to give you holding on, because I know we have a couple of people here that I want to say hello to. Shirley, thank you for your beautiful shares. Shamanism to you as well. Beautiful shares. Thank you, Mario, for joining us. Latushkin as well. Maria Luisa de nuevo. Loved your comments. Let me share with you now this amazing clip from the portal with Eric, in which he shares with us some of the things he's learned from Reconnective Healing. And here we go.
The one cause theory is that the degree to which we fall away from perfect health is the degree to which we've temporarily forgotten that we are the light. And all we need to do is remember that we are that light. To remind ourselves in a way that allows us to return to our natural light vibration. And as we vibrate in our optimum state of light, anything denser than that light pretty much has nothing left to hold on to, and therefore it falls away, if appropriate for us at that point on our life path for it to do so. I learned that being a healer, that is, facilitating healings for others, is a pretty pure experience. I learned to simply step into the equation with the other person and the universe, to transcend technique entirely and allow myself to feel, to listen with a different sense, to feel, observe, play, notice, without judgment. And that is a huge part of the key. I learned that as we transcend technique, we transcend direction, we transcend specific pinpoint desired outcome, and we transcend judgment, I learned how to step out of my result orientation and instead step into a process orientation. And as I allowed myself to do this, I became more aware of the field. My sense.
And just to remind you, Saturday premiere this week at 10 a.m. We expect you there. It's going to be an in-depth interview with Eric and Jillian about what has Reconnective Healing role being in this shift into the fifth dimension. This is a very intriguing topic, and I invite you to join us. And again, you will always know about these events if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And here, let me share with you, first of all, my gratitude to our entire room. My goodness, you guys are on fire. Your words are inspiring me. And you really are just getting the entire frequencies traveling deeper and further through this video to whomever is watching now and people who watch the recording. So please keep that conversation going over here. And remember, we have a few things that are takeaway. Every week, we try to come up with 3 short and simple things that we can share with everyone and with ourselves. And here are for today the 3 ways to remain connected. More than that, to know that we are connected. First of all, know that you are never alone. When we're in frequencies, we are never alone. For all of us who have experienced the session of Reconnective Healing, of have experienced interaction via the portal, or with somebody else who does Reconnective Healing, we can feel all these other consciousnesses. I don't know if that's a real word, I may have just made it up, but we can feel all this other intelligence that is out there around us. And then we know that there is so much more. We are never alone. Second, and like Eric said, facilitate self-healing and distance sessions. These are so core and crucial to us knowing ourselves to be part of this entire Reconnective Healing family and beyond. By doing this, by allowing ourselves to have our moment of self-healing, whether we're doing it as Eric and Jillian teach us during the programs or by just watching the portal or following the exercises, we are immediately tuning in to our own inner atmosphere, that reconnective healing atmosphere. And when we do a distance session, guys, I want to share this with you. Miguel Fraguas Pool, dear Miguel, he would sometimes text people and say, you have been the recipient of a distance session. It's a surprise from me to you. That was beautiful. He would select a random person every day and just gift a 5-minute, 10-minute distance session. Why? Because with that, he kept his own evolution, his own conversation, his own interaction going as well. He knew that connectedness. And last but not least, reach out to the Reconnective Healing community like we guys are doing right here in our chat. It's so important to remain connected via mediums such as social media, email, reach out to us, leave comments, share where you are, share your videos of your discoveries. And more importantly, let's be connected in frequencies. Where any of us is, a healing can take place. Guys, it is that time in which we've reached the end of today's jam. I want to thank again Eric Pearl from the bottom of my heart. What a treat. And I want to thank Jillian Fleer because my goodness, she was on fire. I don't know if you noticed. Those comments were amazing, Jillian. Thank you so much. And guys, that link to her program is going to be right here below in our description, just as you have a link for the portal, the first hour. If you've done the portal, please let the world have this first hour. Let them know that this link exists. That's the gift from the reconnection from Eric and Jillian to the world. Let other people receive what Reconnective Healing has to offer. So we have the links here. And for those of you who are ready to just take that leap, we have the link to the full portal as well. And again, we have our premiere on Saturday. And this program would not be over if I did not thank again our amazing Lexi Alexandra and Cecilia Sams. And I saw a couple of plans here already. Sorry, I'm holding you accountable for that amazing idea. Reach out. Let me know. How are we going to develop this into a whole global thing? If you have an inspiration like that, reach out and let us know, because we are the Reconnective Healing family. We are on fire and we are here to be of service to the world, to support this transition that humanity is currently undergoing. Let's be part of this. Let's be the inspiration to know that separation is an illusion and that fear is false evidence appearing real. And until next week, Ana Clavell, your host, here with the RH Jam. Love you all.